Hi everyone, welcome to another one of my videos for mosaic art. This week I'm going to be doing a small mosaic on a frame, as you can see, and I'm going to be doing mosaicing glass on glass, which is something that I've done before. So here basically I'm just using the frame that I bought. This one was only £1.20 from Home Bargains, and it's not real wood, but it looks really good. So I'm just using the piece of paper that was already inside the frame, and I'm just doing a very simple drawing of a tree. The idea behind this mosaic is basically to have like a dark silhouette of a tree and give more emphasis on the colors of the sky behind it. So that was the idea that I had for this project. So I'm just doing a very basic drawing of the tree with a pencil, then I just go over it with a pen. And I'm going to use this as my guide for my mosaic. This time of year we see a lot of trees that have that are bare, that don't have any leaves, and sometimes it's very beautiful because you can see, you know, these silhouettes of the dark silhouettes of trees with the beautiful sky behind them. So that was the idea for this mosaic. So I'm just using that piece of paper that came with the frame. I put it back in, and for this project you could actually use the piece of plywood that comes with your frame. You could do that as well, but I'm just going to mosaic with glass tiles on glass, so you will need a suitable glue obviously for that. So this is the glue that I used before for the other project, and it does say on the bottle that you can use it for glass. It's also a good idea to, if you are doing glass on glass, to clean your glass surface. I do it here with just a little bit of nail polish remover, just to make sure that you don't have any fat on there or any other dirt. So I'm using these beautiful glass tiles that I used before for my other projects. These are 12 millimeters by 12 millimeters square, and they are 4 millimeters thick. Some of them are iridescent, and some of them are just glossy, and some of them are matte. So this is a selection of the colors that I have bought. They are very good quality, and they can be cut very easily with a pair of Leponit glass nippers, like the ones you see here on the video. If this is something that you are doing for the first time, please be very careful when you're cutting the glass. Make sure that the glass is not going to, fly everywhere. In order to prevent that, you can use a bowl or a box or something like that. You can also use a pair of tweezers if you like. That really helps to manage small pieces and move them around the way that you want. So initially my idea was to do the tree all in black, and then use blues and greys to do a kind of a cloudy sky. However, I ended up using a few other colors as well, because I felt that it was just going to be too dull. So I used the black for the darker parts of the tree, and then I used some of the iridescent, kind of very dark greens and very dark greys to make the tree look just a little bit more interesting. So I'll just leave you to watch this bit for a little bit, and then I'm going to be moving on to the sky. So this glue I'm using does give you a little bit of time to move your pieces around if you want to. So you don't have to be too anxious about how you're gluing your pieces down. If you do find that you have changed your mind, say the next day, you are still able to remove the pieces. And if you're finding it difficult, you can just use a little bit of nail varnish remover for this particular glue, and the pieces will come off straight away. So I'm using this very dark green, iridescent green for some of the branches, just to differentiate it a little bit so it's not all black, and just to give a sense of depth a little bit more. I'm trying to create the branches by cutting my pieces in half, first of all, or into threes. And then I try to cut very, very thin triangles for the tips of the branches. The wheeled nippers sometimes will cut kind of a curved surface, so they will cut in a curve, but you can take advantage of that and use that curve in the direction that you want your tile to go, so that can be a good thing. Also, like I've mentioned before, if you're trying to follow a curve in your mosaic design, then if you have, for example, rectangles or squares, if you cut that rectangle on either side at an angle, then that will give you a shape that you will be able to use to follow that curve more easily. So it all just comes with practice and just trying different things, but that's kind of like a general rule if you're trying to follow a certain curve in your mosaic design. I've noticed as well in general that glass tiles that are matte, you can cut them more precisely than tiles that are glossy. You can still cut glossy tiles with precision, but matte seems to work better with the cutters. So if you're just starting out, you might want to pick glass tiles that are matte. That will help you definitely with the cutting, and the shards are sometimes not as sharp. So here I have almost finished the tree. I decided not to put any type of fruit or anything like that on it. I was quite happy with just having this kind of melancholic silhouette of a tree. The frame itself is obviously like a fake wood, but it's a grayish colored wood. So initially I was going to use just black, white and grey, but I didn't have any white at all left, so I just had this picture in my mind of a cloudy sky that is bright in some areas, and then I had a look at my tiles and I just tried to use what I had available. Obviously you need to do a little bit of planning before you begin your project. Lay your tiles down and think about how you will cut your tiles. Like I've said before, with these particular tiles, it makes sense to cut them in half in some areas, and that reduces the waste, or into threes. You can see as well there that you can see the back of some of the tiles. They have this texture to them. Some people like to use that texture. In this case, I wasn't interested in that, but there's nothing wrong with using that texture as well, facing up when you're doing your mosaic. There's no rule that says you can't use that side. It will give a different effect to your mosaic. You will need to be a little bit of patient if you are just starting out. You can just do a very, very simple design of something that you love. For example, just a simple heart, and you can just use two colors, one color for the heart and one color for the background. Something like that, you don't have to do anything complicated. You can just start a small mosaic just for yourself, just to see, get the feel of the cutters, and just how it all works out. And it does take time. So when you do a mosaic, it will take longer than when you're doing, say, a painting, for example. So you do need to be a little bit patient to see the results of your work, but it's definitely worthwhile in the end, and it is rewarding. What I love about these tiles as well is that they change color and effect depending on the angle you're looking at the mosaic from. So that makes the work more interesting, in my opinion. So here on the video you can see that some of the branches are a dark green, but in reality that changes. So every time you move your mosaic, every time the light changes, the colors change slightly. Some of them are more purple and some of them are more green, and the same thing happens in the sky. When I finish the sky, it's a combination of the three textures that I mentioned. So just a plain color but glossy, iridescent color, or matte. I did use a few matte tiles in there as well. They all work very well together. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm just testing out some colors to get an idea about what I want to do. These are all very, very beautiful colors, nice, bright, cheerful colors. But I just had this vision in my mind of something that's kind of not depressing, but just a little bit melancholic, this time of year. the sky is sometimes really bright and sometimes it's cloudy, but sometimes it's kind of at that transition where it's cloudy, but you can see some bright sky hiding behind the clouds. And that's the idea that I had in my mind, but like I said, I had to use what I had available. So I decided I could have used the tiles whole if I wanted to. A lot of people do that. It's completely up to you what you're going to do. There are no rules. But in my case, I wanted to cut my tiles in half, and maybe without realizing it, I was trying to give the impression of a painting. So because I have this great collection of the colors in all the different shades, it was an opportunity for me to play with the colors and use all these different shades to achieve a certain result. But like I said before, don't feel that you have to do all this detail. This is just hopefully an inspiration for you to just go buy a few tiles or and just start a small project, or hopefully come to our classes at the Expressions Cafe in Warsaw. It's at 73 Bridge Street, and hopefully it will be opening very, very soon. So the classes take place on a Monday at 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't need to bring anything. We have everything you need there, so you can just have a go at mosaic art without buying any tools or any other materials. So it is an opportunity for you. Generally, when I do a little bit of painting on my own, I like to work on the background as well. Our teachers always used to tell us that, you know, when you're doing, for example, a pencil drawing of something, don't only focus on your main theme. You should give as much attention to the background as well. Even if it just looks like it's a plain background, it's never plain. There's always variations in the shades and the colors in the background. So that has obviously influenced me over the years. So whenever I do any type of artwork or any type of picture, I like to work on the background as well, if possible, and make it more interesting. So this is what I'm doing here, and that's why it took me perhaps longer than normal to complete this very small mosaic. And it's because I am very, very fussy, and I was just literally looking through each tile excuse me, again and again, checking, you know, what it looks like in the current light, and if it's iridescent, what it will look like when you move it around. And I just wanted to make sure that it has the effect that I want. So obviously you can fast forward the video towards the end to see the finished result, or you can just keep watching. It's up to you. There is a combination there of a little bit of pink as well. As you can see, a lot of the times there's that time of day where it's cloudy, but also the sun is setting, so we have a little bit of pink and orange in the sky. And these pastel colors are just really, really beautiful for a project like this. There's about 3 different shades of pink. I used 2, I think. There's a lilac kind of blue, light blue. There's just a very beautiful range of colors, and there is a little bit of gray as well, which I used to imply that, you know, it's not summertime yet. I think that it is very therapeutic working with mosaic tiles. Nowadays they come in so many different colors and so many different textures. It really does cheer you up when you're feeling down, when you're feeling, you know, bored and uninspired. Sometimes just buying yourself a few new materials, not too much, but just a few new things for yourself to work with for your craft. It can really help to inspire you and to make something that you have never made before. These tiles come from Hobby Island, and like I said before, I'm not advertising a specific shop. It just so happened that I found something that I really liked on that particular website, but there's lots of other ones that you can go and find on the internet. There's Mosaic Supplies, there's there used to be one called the Craft Kit. I don't know if it still exists. I'll have to look that up for you. And there's I'm just thinking now, there's Mosaic Heaven, I believe it's called, and lots of other places you can shop around. And a lot of these places, like I said before, these online shops will have a section on their website where it's items on sale or clearance, and you can always just phone them up and say, you know, I would just like to have a go at mosaic art. Is there a kind of kit that I can buy from you? And most of them sell kits where you get the tile cutters, a pair of tweezers, the glue, and a few tiles and a suitable base all together in one kit, and then you can start working with that. Or you can just buy your own, like I said before. Other things you can use as a base are things like plywood. You could even use an old plate or an old ceramic tile, an old piece of wood that's clean. There's lots of things you can use, but obviously I would have to advise you, or you would have to look for advice maybe online or through other people to see, you know, what the most suitable glue or adhesive would be for the particular project that you are doing. This project I'm doing here is obviously only meant to go indoors, so I'm not too concerned about how strong the glue is and things like that. It's just something that I'm doing for you and for fun. But if you are doing this or want to do this professionally in the future, then you do really need to investigate and make sure that you are using the right adhesive for the right kind of base. That's the number one thing to think about and to get right when you're doing mosaic art, and then all the rest is the fun part, so to speak. So here I've started doing the sky, and I just wanted to add as well that if you look at the way I'm laying the tiles, it looks kind of like a brick wall. When you look at a brick wall, you see that the bricks are staggered, and this is what I'm trying to do here. So I want the eye, when the viewer is looking at my work, the intention is for the eye to look at the horizontal lines of the sky, kind of as if it were painted in that direction. So the way that you lay your tiles will affect the overall effect of your mosaic in the end. So it is important to think about how you will glue your tiles down, and you can see that some of them need to be cut in half and then in half again to start a new line, just so exactly the way that you would do a brick wall to have that staggered effect. And this is what I'm doing here. The only tricky thing with that is that obviously when I reach the tree, I am trying to preserve that flow of the tiles, the horizontal lines. So that's just a little bit more time consuming, because you have to cut these specific, very specific shapes to fit, in the gaps that are being created by the branches of the tree. But that's something, again, that comes with experience, cutting your tile at the right angle. And it takes time. It does take time to see exactly how you need to cut them. But that's what you can learn as well if you come to one of our classes at Expressions Cafe in Walsall, West Midlands, or you can just practice yourself at home. You just have to adjust your pieces, and you may have to cut them 2 or 3 times to make sure that they fit in your gaps perfectly, but it will be worth it in the end, because when you are doing the background, like I said before, when you're doing a mosaic, the background is just as important as your main theme. If you remember that, then you will always have success and an effective mosaic. That was a bit abrupt there, the ending of the music. So, as you can see, when you're doing something like this, the tweezers are really invaluable for you. They can really help you to handle very, very small pieces. I think a lot of people that I work with sometimes, when they're starting out, I say to them, would you like some tweezers? Oh, no, I'm okay. And that's absolutely fine. But I find that when you're working with very small pieces, sometimes you just need the tweezers. It just helps to control what you're doing a little bit better. Everybody's different. It's what you get used to. Also, please remember when you're cleaning up, when you're tidying up your work area, not to push the glass around with bare hands. You can use, some people like to use like a credit card or a card or something that they have in their wallet, or a brush obviously is the best thing, or something like that. You need to use something to clean up your area, because you will cut yourself eventually if you keep handling the glass, especially the small pieces. And make sure that you sweep the floor really, really well when you have finished working. No matter how careful you are, there will always be tiny shards of glass flying all over the place without you even realizing it. As you can see, I am a little bit messy. I'm just trying to make sure that the glass stays on the table and not anywhere else when I'm cutting the glass. I'm just using that piece of paper there to cut the glass onto. But a lot of people like to use a shallow bowl or a tray or something like that to cut on, and that's a great idea. I also keep my offcuts as much as possible, because I know that they can come in very, very useful at my next project. And especially if you're using glass that is very expensive, every little piece is worth keeping, because you will eventually use it for something else. So the idea here with the sky was, like as I was saying before, was to give some variation to the sky. And on the left side, I have used some darker colors, and then on the right side is an area behind the tree where it's quite a light blue color. And here on the video, it looks like there's a lot of pink pieces on the top part of the sky, but actually some of them are kind of a blue, lilac, light blue color. But because they're iridescent at this particular angle and with this particular light, it looks like I've put quite a bit of pink on the top. And I think that's just so beautiful about this mosaic, is that whenever I look at it, it will have a different effect, depending on what kind of day it is. Kind of like the real sky, it changes every second of the day. So that's perhaps another thing to take away from this video for you, is that sometimes you can choose. So you can kind of make a decision before you begin and say, am I going to focus on design more than color? So on my drawing more than the color of the mosaic, or am I going to focus on color rather than the design? So in this case, like I said in the beginning, the drawing only took me a few seconds to do. It's a very simple drawing, but I'm putting a lot more emphasis on all the different colors. in another occasion, on another occasion, you might do something where the actual laying of the tiles, the design of your mosaic takes up much longer, but your colors are very simple. So that's why I said every project is different, and it all really just depends on what you want to do and how much time and patience you have available for that particular project. Some people like to use glittery tiles, a lot of tiles with glitter on them. Some people like to use even grout that has glitter in it. That's the latest, one of the latest things that are available now is you can actually buy specialized glitter powder that you can add into certain types of grout. So you can make a mosaic and then have glittery grout as well on top of that. So, you know, you can go as far as you want when it comes to all the different textures. And it just depends on your personal taste and what you're trying to achieve. If you are being overwhelmed with all the tiles and types of tiles that are available out there, I would say just start very simple. Just start with a few basic colors and do a very simple mosaic, and then that will help you to see what you like better. I think if you buy too many different types of tiles to begin with, that might overwhelm you. The ones that are the easiest to cut, like I said, is I would say glass, but that really only applies if you're going to buy wheeled nippers. If you have just the normal tile nippers, then if you get some ceramic tiles, the ones that are again 4 millimeters thick, then you don't need the wheeled nippers. So if you don't want to invest so much in a pair of cutters, then you can start with the other type of ceramic tile cutters, and you can start with that. But then it's better if you don't buy glass tiles, it's better if you buy ceramic tiles, because then you will be able to cut them more easily and a lot less likely to cut yourself as well, because it's not glass, it's ceramic. With the glue, my personal opinion is that you can just start with ordinary PVA glue. Just make sure that it's fresh, meaning it's, you know, glue can also go off. So just buy a new bottle of PVA glue or builder's PVA glue from your local DIY shop, and that will work absolutely fine on a piece of wood to begin with. And then later on you can start investigating more about all the different specialized mortars and glues and all the different things that you can use. So as you can see, I'm also trying to be very careful for my lines to stay horizontal. That's another thing that you can do if you like, is you can actually draw the horizontal lines onto your design, and they can be your guide for your mosaic. That's also something else that you can do, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong at all. In this case, in my case, because it's such a small mosaic, I'm just following the lines that I've already done. But you just have to keep checking things, and you will see that at some point I leave that area where I'm working now and I start at the bottom, because I wanted to make sure that I won't have an awkward gap left in the end You know, when I'm laying these tiles, I didn't actually measure the height of the mosaic, so I just decided to cut all my tiles in half and just keep going. But then I thought, well, actually, how much will I have left in the end? What sort of gap will I have left in the end? So I needed to check that. And in the end, what happened was I ended up using wider tiles on the bottom to make sure that I don't have any awkward gaps left. So it turned out okay, but that's why I said before that you will always have to do a little bit of planning when you're doing your work, and that's okay. So here you can see it's on the next day. There's different light going on, more daylight, brighter daylight, and you can see the bottom line of the mosaic. I have actually changed it, so I had to take off the tiles that I had laid, and I had to put wider tiles there to make sure that I don't have an awkward gap left. And it was funny because in the end I still ended up having a smaller gap, but it looks all right in the end. So you can see how the colors are different now in this kind of daylight, which is in a different room. By the way, the background that you see, the table that I'm working on, is just a desk that we made with reclaimed or leftover scaffolding boards. So they are very thick and heavy. And we used those to make a desk. So you can see this beautiful background, which is of course very much in fashion now, the wood. And that's another thing that you can use around the house, is just scaffolding boards. If you have any leftover, or if people can give you some, you can use those to build shelves and lots of different things. So I thought it would look nice to work here, and then you can have this beautiful background behind my fake wooden frame mosaic.